Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 144, recording on Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we'll be doing things a little differently than usual today. We're going to try something new. Game Junk reacts to The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom gameplay demonstration. Nintendo showed 13 minutes of footage of the game, and we got to get in on this. I've been a Breath of the Wild naysayer for a long time now. Sean, I think, was it in your top 3 games?
Yep. Yeah, it was. Number two, I believe.
Huck, you're kind of in the middle, I think.
I'm definitely more with you. I appreciate the open world and exploring it, but I cannot stand the inventory system and the braking.
Okay, so I let me just say, I think there are many great things about that game. My stance is just that it's a bit overrated. It is very often number one on best games of all time list, and that is just unfathomable to me. But we'll fit some stuff like that in. But if you're not watching, you might want to go to YouTube. We're going to try. It might fail, but we're going to try to have the video up, pause it here and there, and kind of react to some of the footage real time. And we'll pause it. And if we want to get in depth on some of the mechanics and ideas, they'll just tell me to pause. We will do our best to speak about these mechanics without the visual aid, give you a little context for what we're talking about, but we're going to be breaking down this gameplay demonstration. So
we have seen it before. This is not like a raw first time reaction, but
I kind of had a reaction at work. I was talking about it. So I have some canned thoughts. Let me just put it that way. This is not a live first time reaction.
Right.
Okay? All right. So this is where things could start to go wrong. Let me show you the screen.
Now, should we skip this part?
No, we have to react to it. So
Dude is talking.
Development on The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is now complete.
I mean, it is weird that like the game comes out in 2 months, less than 2 months, and like this is really the first. I mean, there's been a couple of short trailers, but this is the first real look at the gameplay. It seems late in the game, but
yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I'm fine with that. Like, we kind of know what it's going to be. But let me just pause quickly.
One thing, should we put on closed captioning?
Oh yeah, sure. Although I think it would auto generate it. The audio is hard to hear. So yeah, I think our talking will auto generate captions. And if it picks up the thing, it'll do that. But yeah, actually, you know what? That's not a bad idea.
So the one thing he did mention is that the development is complete. So the game has gone gold. So it's ready to go. That was a new sort of announcement from this video.
Yes, we were somewhat skeptical, thought there might be delays, but that is not the case. It is ready to go. Okay, let's fire it up.
We are in the land of Hyrule.
So we got Link on a horse. Got some longer hair. So I love.
Of course, it's not just the same
when I saw it the first time, just the bouncing of the hair. That might be in the first game, but I think it looks great.
Run out of time, so we hope you'll seek them out for yourself.
because this is also only coming out on the Switch, not Wii U this time. So I don't know if that has a huge impact, but
So can you pause right there? First impression of the environment, very bland. Very like flat looking grass. Like there's no edges. You can even see on this screenshot, like all the grass just kind of like blends together in one big blob of green. It's very noticeable when the camera was tilted down a little bit more that it just almost looked like a flat plane of green. And it was.
I feel like part of that is the streaming, though. Like, if there's one thing, even I was replaying Breath of the Wild today, and when the wind's going in the game, like I kind of like the stylized grass of this game, but I think it's my stream. It's not great here.
In this game, the vast world
maybe I don't know, but I mean, even the buildings look a little flat, to be honest.
Yeah,
compared to what I remember, anyways, from Breath of the Wild.
I'd say it's on par with what I played today, but
wondering something.
I think we'll get to that in the end of the video. I think that's going to come up, but I don't know.
If we take a look,
This is the big reveal, right? And maybe I'll just skip ahead to what I was saying. So I think later in the video they mention that the world is basically the same as the first game. To be honest, I kind of like to some degree. I appreciated that about God of War Ragnarok. Like the world isn't like a fundamentally different place. It's a sequel and something has changed about it. Now, I don't think the changes in the world are all that significant. All the major changes, as we're seeing, are going to happen above the old area. So it's going to be, new islands and sky islands. I don't know why they're not called Skylands, that are above everything else. So let's head over to it. That's interesting. I don't know if it wasn't a Zelda game, how people would feel about it, but from this, it's not clear to me how similar or different it is, because I'm not that familiar with the first game.
So before we get to this part here with the rockfall, I wonder if, because they're keeping the map the same, if the Sky Islands are going to be basically what they do for those shrines that were in the first game. And now, instead of just finding the shrines around the world, because it would be kind of weird to do that again, now your touch points to find are the Sky Islands in the sky, and you now have to go up to get to your like puzzles, which will be a pretty big change.
It could be, but on the map they do. If you look at the map and some of the stuff when he's on the ground, you see temple symbols. I think, do you? Okay, or shrine symbols. Yeah.
So one thing I liked about this gameplay demo, we've talked about this before with gameplay demos, is like designer brain was kind of kicking in for me. And even before I saw the rewind prompt, I was like, how are you going to get up to these islands up there? I'm like, I saw the rock fall. I'm like, oh, you're going to get a rewind ability, which to me fits with the way the runes and the Sheikah Slate abilities were in the first one, the physics-based stuff, being able to change the state of things. It felt like a perfectly natural addition to stuff in the first game, unless there is a rewind in the first game that I'm not aware of. Sean? That I have
not that I remember.
Okay. So this was like, okay, cool. I think I could see how having rewind as an ability with items in the world could be interesting and fits the system-based puzzle solving of the game. So I think I was like, okay, we're trending in the right direction with this game for sure. I don't know if it's necessarily all that much fun.
Well, that. This is the only instance of the recall ability that they show, I think, right? But it hints at a possibility for something like the entropy center, where it's like any object in the game could be rewound. Enemies, like, who knows? You could do a lot with it. It depends how powerful that power is.
Exactly, and I mean, there's puzzle games have been centered around time switching, rewinding stuff. So there's a huge pool of a style of puzzles or borrowing ideas from those that, would really open up what you can do in the shrines or whatever the equivalent of shrines is in this game. My only thought seeing this part, and I'll start to get into this. Actually, first thing, the name recall for the ability. We're going to see a bunch of abilities in this video. I love all the names. We'll go over them, but the rewind ability is called Recall, and I love it. And my other thought is, what is this stone just floating? I would have liked it if it insinuated somewhere that it fell from somewhere on that, or it seems a little weird that it's just a rock that fell for no reason. Maybe there is a story connection though. So the dive, not bad.
There are a few other Sky Islands floating here too.
But I would say the Sky Islands, they are pretty big. Like, it's not like they're just tiny islands or, if I think of the smaller areas in Skyward Sword or Wind Waker, these feel like pretty fully formed areas, well designed.
Some trees are also growing here.
It's interesting, and they talk about it's a completely different visual vibe. It's different trees, so there's going to be it's going to add to the visual pacing and variety of being like the same world but slightly different.
There's a branch on the ground.
Sean, you're the Zelda hero. Are you buying this? Are you in? Are you out? What is going on?
Let's continue.
I mean, it looks cool. I have some concerns still about getting to and from these things, like that elevator thing, and like towards the end they show you falling off. Like it still seems like it's a really long time getting between them. So I hope there's some kind of teleport at some point.
Well, what I see there, which I mean, it's an older console, that is the equivalent of a loading screen, and I'd rather have that context for loading than, a loading screen. So I'm generally okay with the recall, waiting for the recall rock to go up.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, my bigger concern is getting accidentally knocked off, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
It might be the most innovative loading screen of all time. Okay, so this is where the demo really starts to get interesting.
One thing before we jump ahead to that, we did see a little sneak peek of some sort of like crazy sky monster.
Oh yeah, the dragon in the background.
The dragon thing in the horizon there before, quite a bit before this, where we are in the video now. But that's an interesting change, or not a change, but that's interesting that they kind of snuck that in there. That's going to be something you obviously face later on. Before we talk about this, there is one UI difference that I noticed. I just went back and I compared. So if you look in the top left corner, they have the shield on like the left, sword, and then on the top is apple, or I guess food. And in Breath of the Wild, the up on the D-pad used to be use your like ability.
Yeah, it's whatever the swap. So yes. all the D-pad buttons are for quick swaps when you have multiple things. So I don't know what the equivalent of that is going to be for runes or Sheikah Slate abilities in this game, but they have moved food to that. Maybe it's it could also be a shortcut for cooking, would be welcome as well.
Maybe. Yeah. So I think maybe people probably complain. Now, I don't know what the L button here is, what skill. I noticed that changed based on whatever he had equipped. I don't know if that's like a special move. If you go back, it is some sort of like round orange icon before.
Oh, yeah. So that's how you swap runes or Sheikah Slate abilities for sure.
But do you think that is the like recall versus
that's
ascend or whatever?
Symbol. And well, the next one I think we get is fuse.
Fuse.
So you fuse weapons, so that icon makes sense to me as well.
And there's the dragon in the
dragon, which looks amazing. I'm not gonna lie. And there were elements of that in Breath of the Wild. Like if you went to the towers, you could see flying creatures, and obviously, I think like in the beginning you see Calamity Ganon. So that's kind of been in the previous games, but that dragon looks totally rad. I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of ways to reach the Sky Islands, so we hope you'll try a few different bigger.
So there's another thing there, that there's lots of ways to reach the Sky Islands, not just recall. So that could be answer some of Sean's concerns about.
I mean, there was a hot air balloon that they mentioned that was shown before as well. Like you can build stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
We're also growing here.
And I'm gonna skip back to where we were. So this is, to me, we're about to see the coolest thing about this demo by far.
So here's another one of Link's new abilities.
Broken branch.
Link has a broken branch, and then he's able to fuse it with a boulder to make a new weapon that is like basically a boulder on a stick.
This is called
and it makes it more powerful using the fuse ability. And I love the fuse ability. When I saw that, I'm like, this is perfect. It solves so many problems, or my problems, with The Legend of Zelda. So, I mean, the game is ultimately about experimentation, exploration. And the main way of doing that with items in the first game is the cooking system, which is cumbersome. There's only so many, no matter how many times you experiment with food and monster parts and all that stuff, all it really does is change how much health you get back and whether you get like an agility bonus or a temperature like helper when you're going to areas with different temperature. So now it's like I can take any 2 items, I'm guessing, in the whole game, fuse them together and create interesting weapon combinations, which also solves the annoyance of having to get new weapons all the time. You can strengthen them and change them by fusing things with them. And that encourages you. The whole point of weapons breaking is to encourage experimentation so you don't use the same weapon the whole time. So now this makes weapon experimentation fun because I'm like, oh, well, I can make it stronger and cooler. And we'll get to some more examples of this. Am I alone in thinking this is amazing?
Oh, we beat one.
No, I mean, I think it's great. I think this is the main hook of the game at this point.
Yeah.
See, I appreciate it for obviously how creative it is and how many variations they're going to have. Obviously, they'll have tons. But for me, this is kind of like a crafting system where you don't know any of the recipes and you have to go out and experiment and find everything in the world and, spend a lot of your time merging things together just to see what comes out. And I don't really like that kind of mechanic myself personally. I know it's very popular, but for me personally, it's not my cup of tea.
So my counter to that would be, in the cooking system, I would totally agree with you in the first game. But because sometimes you end up experimenting and getting something completely useless. From what I can tell with the fuse system, no matter what, you get a somewhat enhanced version of a previous weapon. It's never a worse weapon. And you can kind of infer, like the one we're about to see is a stick that attaches a farmer's pitchfork to this super, almost ridiculously long weapon. And when I saw this insanely long stick fork get put on the back of Link, I was like, okay, you're getting me big time. and I love the idea of like, okay, I can experiment and I'll never fail. It just might be something I don't fuse together again. And the other thing I love about it is how easy it is to fuse things together. Like I don't have to go to a menu to do it. I just have 2 things, use fuse, boom, and watch when you fuse 2 things together. It kind of answers some of Huck's concerns. You see the stat changes, I believe, on the weapon in the interface.
Oh, do you?
So it went up 4.
Oh, yeah.
So, and maybe that was a range icon. I'm not sure. But when I saw this huge weapon, I was like, this is incredible. And I could see how streamers would love it. But it's also like, it's obvious what that weapon does and why you might want to use it. And now we like even this, like a leaf on an arrow, and like how they start to fuse these elements over this gameplay demo. So freezing arrows by using choo-choo jelly and things we're already familiar with their purpose in the world of Hyrule. I mean, I automatically start to think of, oh, I know what this is going to do when I fuse these 2 things together. And I might not have, the next one we're about to see, I might not have predicted, but it makes sense. The eyes, the goblin part eyes, turn things into homing or seeking arrows. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. They got me. Like I was ready to be skeptical and critical of this game, but I feel like I thought it was going to be a rehash of the first game in a lot of ways. And I'm seeing lots of new ideas that improve incredibly on the first game. So what do you guys say?
I like it. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
Well, I was just going to react to your other criticism. I also think, like you're talking about, like you might not know all the recipes or anything, but I'm sure they're going to show you like some basic ones. There's going to be puzzles where they're going to be like, build this, build that, and they'll tell you like, okay, these are some basic things you can build that you're going to need in this game. And then it's just kind of the weirder ones where you can kind of experiment and do what you want. But like, I'm excited about that. Like I was showing the video to Kieran and like, he loves Minecraft. Immediately he was like, oh my God, this is great. So like, I think it's going to attract some new people potentially to Zelda as well.
Yeah, I'm not as big on the shield stuff like the one we're watching now, but the effect looks cool. The smoke looks good.
The enemy's lost sight of links,
It makes some of the stealth ideas in the first game that are hard to pull off
even if
a
you
little more
struggle with
doable.
combat,
So
you
I
can
think
take
it's
down
a
enemies
net
using
positive
similar
for sure.
methods.
I'm a little concerned about the like just sheer amount of variety that might be available, and just trying to remember what everything does, and basically just getting overwhelmed. And this kind of game, when you have so many options like this, it does emphasize constantly playing and not like playing for an hour, then taking a week off and coming back a week later and trying to remember what you did. So I feel like for a more casual player, like I would probably consider myself to be now, this might be very challenging of a system to grasp.
Yeah, I could see that point for sure. I'm hoping everything I've seen, the fusions and combinations make some like sense at a fundamental level. So I hope that they're intuitive enough to pick up where you left off. Although I restarted Breath of the Wild today, and I'm like, I was halfway through. Should I just continue where I was? And in classic Frank fashion, nope, had to start from scratch again. Back on the Great Plateau. So we'll see if it sticks this time. I was inspired by watching this. I'm like, I got to give that game another chance. Come on. What aren't you seeing? Try to see what's great about it. So finally, or not finally, there's two more abilities we're going to see. This one is very similar to Fuse. It's basically the way of making vehicles and weapons, and it is called Ultra Hand, which is the best name for an ability I've ever heard in my life.
I did read that that's a reference to some kind of Nintendo toy they used to sell or something.
Oh, really? I don't know. Ultra Hand won me over immediately. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I might have started playing Breath of the Wild again just because of the name Ultra Hand. I want to be on Team Ultra Hand and get ready for this game as much as I can. But we're going to see him fuse, or not fuse, but use Ultra Hand to, like, it puts green goo in between logs, which I like the look of that. And he basically needs a way to cross the water.
There's something here.
And then there's these like fans with batteries. So we got batteries now. Clearly there's a mechanical influence with those construct enemies and some other things going on there.
Looks like we found a fan.
But
why don't we try attaching it?
He puts the propellers on the back and uses that to get across the lake. While I love the name Ultra Hand and I like the main idea, this feels like way too much work to me. And it's the nuts and bolts, Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts problems we talked about before.
Okay, they're attached.
It works kind of seamlessly in this demo, but I'm certainly mindful of the fact this is a canned demonstration. And I have my doubts about using that, but I'm like, I would have just rather swam across. The time it took for me to make this thing, I'm going to abandon on the following shore. What is the point of that? I don't get it.
I mean, that's where I wonder if there are actually recipes or something where you can just quickly, like, I've built this thing before, I can build it again immediately or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. But the process of building, while creative and interesting, I don't know if I'd want to do it or if it would be that much fun. It reminds me of, I didn't get to this part in the game today, but when you have to go down a river at the beginning of Breath of the Wild, and use like a leaf to push a prop or something like that. And I'm like, I hate doing that. I just want to go where I want to go. I do not want to have to like spam a button to move. I hate when Zelda games do shit like that. Okay. And now we're getting the last ability.
So just before we move on, I don't know if you saw with the vehicles, they had like a battery basically meter.
Yeah.
And you can see when in this part here where the raft starts elevating, the battery meter just starts draining like crazy, and then they cut to basically not show that he crashes right afterwards, which obviously could lead to some upgrade or almost like Kerbal Space Program-esque like designs that you need to come up with. But I don't know, this part seems like a frustration to me a little bit. Like you were saying, like, I don't want to take the time to figure out how to make a vehicle for 20 minutes when I could have walked there in 10.
Yeah. Or, I'm assuming the battery is the equivalent of agility and hearts in the first game, where you can increase your battery life in general. I'm not sure. But the one that made me look at another portion, which is 4 hearts at the top, I have to say, deep down, another reason why I'm motivated, when I heard it was the same Hyrule basically as the first game, I'm like, I wonder if they're going to how they're going to reset the character. Or are you going to, if you played the first one, will you have full agility, full health? I would love it if it let you carry over stuff from the first game. I honestly have no idea if that's going to happen. But that's, if it truly is a continuation of the first game, like Ragnarok was. They reset some stuff, but you didn't have to get weapons you didn't have before and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And if they didn't do resetting stuff, to me, that's a case why this game is great, because they have enough new stuff that you don't have to redo things you did in the first game. But this is all speculation at this point. So I'm going to press play and check out the last ability featured in this demo.
There are even more new abilities.
And this one is the ability to go through. So if there's a roof or a ceiling above you, you can immediately teleport
I passed right through the ceiling.
to the top. And
This
without
new ability
climbing,
is called
and if you can see something
you're in a
above
place
you,
with a ceiling,
it's called
you can go
Ascend,
through
another great name. You can ascend and get
to the floor above you.
teleported through to the top. Now,
There
I
are
like
some
the idea.
restrictions, but
It
what's great
definitely,
about this
my
ability
first thought when I saw that
as
is,
long as there's a
that's
ceiling,
kind of admitting
you can use
climbing
it
in the
anywhere.
first game isn't all that much fun. If you want a
This place
cool
has
ability
cave
to
with a
skip
hill right
climbing,
above it.
it's a bit of a failure on climbing's
If you
part,
use the
but
ability
let's be
here-
honest, climbing is never that much fun in most games. So in general, I'm completely in favor of this ability.
Come on, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, so this here is interesting because it feels like there's a load happening there or something. I don't
Mhm.
really know like what was going on,
You
but
had to-
I mean, just on the climbing thing, like I hear what you're saying, but I also think for me, and I think probably for a lot of other people, the idea of Breath of the Wild being able to climb everything in the game was pretty mind blowing at the time. Like, yeah, after you've done it a while, and sometimes you're climbing really big things and it takes a long time, it's a bit much, but it's still cool that you can climb everything. Like, that is a big selling point of the game, I think.
It is kind of cool, but almost every open world game, even before
it
that,
blew me away with wind.
would take climbing and,
Looks like it's got some sort
something
of
like
fan.
Infamous Second Son, you'd be able to run up walls quickly or find new ways to make,
I
after
got
you've done
pushed
it a
off.
while, it like finds ways to make it more
let's just return
fun
to the
and
surface.
exhilarating. So,
You can quickly
I don't know.
descend from the
I-
sky to the surface
So
like this.
pause
I
right
see your
here because I
point.
want to talk about this too, but
so that's all I really have to say about climbing.
okay. Yeah, so you just saw there. So he's on one of these sky islands, gets hit by an enemy, gets knocked off. And now I'm thinking, okay, what if I didn't like he kind of turns it into a like, hey, look, now I'm hang gliding through the air. This is kind of cool, right? Now this is a great way
Awesome.
to get back to the ground. But it's like, what if I didn't want to get knocked off there? Like, do I have an option to get back right away, or do I have to wait 10 minutes? Like, that could be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I could see an ability modification or a way to use recall on yourself later in the game to ease the pain with some of that stuff, but I doubt that'll be the case early on.
I do
Yeah.
think that enemy that did knock you off, though, was kind of neat that they showed that they've like extended the physics system to be able to be used by enemies as well, which I don't think was in the first game. And he kind of blew you off with basically this fan weapon. And that was kind of interesting. That I wonder how else they'll expand that to use similar things. I wonder if, they'll be able to, light things on fire and almost like create traps for you now or things like that, which
Yeah, that's a
could be
cool
interesting.
observation. I guess one thing that isn't featured in this video that is
Let's just return to the surface.
wasn't that big of a part in the first game.
You can
It's
quickly
a cool
descend from
part,
the
but
sky to the surface
doesn't come into
like
play
this.
as much as I kind of hoped it
It feels so
would.
good.
Is the weather system,
In the sky,
and if they've
you'll be
added
able to look out
anything
across the
to
land.
the idea of weather or
You
storms,
can also search for
could be
destinations
some
that
cool
pique your
stuff there.
interest.
but
Once
I'm
you're
also
trusting
not
your-
seeing any towers here. So I don't know if that aspect of the game has been eliminated.
Let's dive into this
Yeah,
river.
I wasn't paying that close attention, but it does. Now we're seeing skydiving
And
into
we're
a
back on the
location
surface.
and like quick skydiving. And in general, I
There's
would say the
still so many
two
things I'd like to show you, but let's
main
leave it at that for now.
influences of the game compared to the first one are Minecraft and Fortnite, two of the biggest games in the world. So I'm sure that won't be a problem.
What did you
Yeah, I think that was definitely a factor.
But I don't know if you go back to that vista again, just briefly. Like, it looks very sparse
So many
compared to the first game, from what I remember. So I don't know if there's some sort of like
so many things I'd like
calamity
to-
or something that happened at the end of
That
Breath of the
one? Is that
Wild
what
because I
you're
didn't
talking about?
finish it, but that like wipes everything out. But it seems like everything's knocked down. Like Dwight said, there's no towers. There do seem to be occasionally some spires off in the distance, like you'd kind of seen one there, and I saw one on another view where there is like certain points that are up higher. But yeah, it seems to be very flat now, and not
Yeah,
many landmarks.
I'm pretty sure it's the same as the first one. Like it's other than the towers, I think, and maybe some like non-natural structures. But yeah, I'm
I
not
know
positive.
but the first one had like the big lava mountain. It had lots of wooded areas.
Yeah, you
it
can
had-
see the lava mountain here.
Can you
Yeah, it's over there on the
on the right hand side there? Oh, okay.
and I think this is yeah,
Maybe this
like,
is at one extreme of the map or something.
yeah, it depends where you are. I think it's the same, but for sure the towers are kind of missing. But okay, so I think that's it. I think he does mention that no one's really sure what it means or to what capacity. It's the exact same map, but that is the gameplay demo. And I wanted to come in hot, have a hot take. You know, I'm looking for it, and I'm the opposite. I am in. I had already pre-ordered anyway with the vouchers that I bought a while back, and it got me to the point where I'm going back to Breath of the Wild. I'm giving it another chance. That's how good I thought that demo was.
Did you pre-order the amiibo?
I did not.
The real question is, will you beat Breath of the Wild and then beat Breath of the Wild again 1 week before Tears of the Kingdom comes out? Because
I predict
your
it takes me until May 12th or whatever it was to beat Breath of the Wild, and then I'll be sick of Zelda and not want to play Tears of the Kingdom. That's the full circle here. I'll be totally in on Breath of the Wild finally, only to not want to play the sequel the day it comes out. And then I'll wait 5 years to play that one. Or once the new Nintendo system launches and they do a better version of it that runs better, I'll wait and play that one. That's the way I should do it. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Now, I just want to comment kind of like generally on the overall style of that presentation. I loved it. I think the fact that they take tailored gameplay moments, they show you exactly what they want to show you. They don't waste any time wandering around. They basically get you on a place, show you what they want to show you, cut to a new place, start it off like, and they don't try to hide it. They're like, now we're on a new, bigger island. Let's show you something here. I love it. Don't waste our time. Show us what you actually want to show. Create a little story as you're going. Like, look at all these new, things we have. I really like the style of this trailer, and I love the walk and talk. And the walk and talk with editing is even better. And I don't know, everyone should just do their trailers like this if they're doing any sort of like explanation of what's going on in your game type thing. You don't need a full point A to point B. I'm going to walk you through the entire first level trailer. You can do like, here's the first part. Now I'm going to cut ahead to when I'm at the end and just show you that. Because in between, I'm just walking between point A and point B. I don't think it's needed. I think this is perfect. 15 minutes, great length.
I don't disagree, but I would say I remember the first God of War 2018 showcase, maybe it was E3, where they played through the tutorial level. And I mean, there's so much going on in that game that it's not bad to not cut. Like that the thing is designed to have amazing pacing. So I think that one works. But in general, I totally agree. I think of like the Last of Us 2 Part 2 demo they did that was always showcasing new areas. And what I think this demo did, I would say the biggest concern people would have with the state of Tears of the Kingdom is how much new stuff is there going to be? Because all we really got a taste of was the vehicle stuff. And everyone was kind of like, I'm not so sure about this vehicle system. So the fact that they just highlighted 4 new abilities for the most part that are all compelling, all interesting, all new. And you can imagine the combinations and possibilities that are practical, not like just stat boost, like practical experimentation. I think they crushed it with whatever they showed here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they really haven't shown anything story-wise, which, to be fair, I don't really care. And I was trying to read up on like what even the story was for Breath of the Wild. And then there's that Age of Calamity prequel or whatever. And I was like trying to read it. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what any of this means. So probably a good choice not to feature any of that. But
I doubt there's that much story. I mean, one of the drawbacks to Breath of the Wild is they let people do whatever they want, whenever they want. So how do you do story in a scenario like that? So they have the memories, which I think is creative and a good version of that, recovering those memories. But it's hard to tell a cohesive story. So it's just like high level, something bad happened, you're the hero, bridge the gap here and there, mini stories with each of the divine beasts and the different cultures in Hyrule. And it'll probably be a version of that, but some new inciting incident with that kicks everything off and why these islands are here. I'm assuming something technology based with the enemies we're seeing and the battery stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, the constructs seem like the new Guardians basically, or something like that. So
they seem low level. Like the Guardians, you cannot defeat. Like
that's true. I mean, they are higher level enemies for sure.
But who knows? I'm fine. Story. Obviously, I'm not big on story. So as long as it's some sweet, simple Nintendo cutscenes. I know I've said it before, but replaying Breath of the Wild, just the simplicity and framing of their cutscenes is fantastic. And the writing, when you meet the guy at the beginning, like just simple comedic writing, it's so good. They crush that stuff. So hey, they won me over, one of the biggest naysayers. And I am super hyped for this game now.
I am surprised they haven't shown any like other areas really other than the sky and the ground. Like you're saying, the cultures, like where's, the Gerudo or whatever they are, where's the rock people, where's the water people? They haven't really shown any of that. I thought they'd give you like maybe a little hint here and there, but we haven't really seen anything like that yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how if they bring that back or what they do with that. So I'm interested to see that.
I mean, there'll be a version of that. I assume it'll be all the stuff from the first game and maybe some new ones. I mean, when it comes to those character designs, no one does it better than Nintendo. Like all of the different people or creatures you meet in a Zelda game, very memorable. I have no doubt about that part of the game. It's more the gameplay. And we'll see if I finish Breath of the Wild. I might completely change my tune by next week and be like, okay, I remember why I don't like this game. And, I'm out, but I always give it a fair chance, but I'm going to try even harder this time because I liked this. I got to force feed. It's time to force feed Breath of the Wild. It has to happen. But I did order a new OLED monitor that's arriving on Friday to play PC games, and that could present problems with Breath of the Wild.
Did you buy Last of Us?
No, I'm waiting to play that, but I was like, I returned a monitor I'd bought before, and I'm like, okay, I'm just buying that Alienware OLED that gets the great reviews, and we'll see how it goes.
For a minute, I thought you said you bought a new OLED Switch, and I was like, oh, geez, this guy's really going all in.
No, I have considered it before. I'm glad I didn't when I was thinking about it, but I think my goal is to play Breath of the Wild on an OLED TV. I started it on the Joy-Con portable mode, and I'm like, this is gross. I'm playing with the Pro controller, and I won't have it any other way.
Okay. All
right. Well, that was The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom gameplay demonstration, March 2023. Anyone played anything other than Breath of the Wild since Sunday?
I've just been playing a lot of Nonozle or whatever you call it. That Picross puzzle game. I found out through a little Steam update that they added 100 more puzzles, so I'm right back in Nonozle.
100 more puzzles. Was it a free update?
Yeah. And it's like abstract puzzles though. So before it was like an image of something. Now it's just like random things. So it's more just like a Sudoku puzzle kind of thing that you're just trying to solve, which is really how I treat them anyways. So it's just like a mind-numbing thing. I put on like some music or a show or something and just kind of try to work my way through them. So I find it relaxing.
What are you going to do when AI generates an infinite amount of nonogram puzzles every day? And you'll never run out.
They probably already have it. That's probably why these guys have these puzzles.
Yeah,
I should just ask ChatGPT to make some for me, and I would probably have an endless supply.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
I might do that. That's a great idea.
Sean, anything for you?
Well, so I did play a bit of 9 Years of Shadows because it just came out on Monday.
I bought it. I've yet to play it.
It's good. Like, I mean, I love the visuals. We've talked about it. It looks a lot like the Castlevania DS games. And it is a Metroidvania, and I'm very happy it's not a Souls-like, at least as far as I've seen so far. Probably my only complaint, the load times after you die are a bit long, longer than I would have expected. But yeah. But other than that, yeah, no, it's great so far. Steam Deck.
What type of storage were you rocking in your Steam Deck? You're the lowest end, right?
No, middle of the road, as always.
What is that, NVMe?
Yes, it is.
Well, it's not good. It's still got long load times. Whatever. We'll see what happens. I'll weigh in on these load times.
Okay.
Soon on a beautiful new OLED monitor, no less. I'll probably end up returning it. I cannot find a monitor that makes me happy. It's the love I'm searching for. Anyway, I think that's it. If you were listening, you should go check it out with the live footage, youtube.com/GameJunk. The Discord link is there. If you agree or disagree with the thoughts on the Tears of the Kingdom, let us know.
I guess we should say like this is going up a bit early too. So, there won't be a regular show on Monday.
That is correct. Thank you, Sean. This is this week's or next week's show. It's a show. It's Game Junk 144. You'll be waiting potentially a week and a half for your next one. So thanks for watching, hopefully, or listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.